All right, so the recorder's on, and while things are in a little bit of a holding pattern as we wait for the Fed, we want to, and really, it's really hard to get all excited about this Fed when the VIX is at 1468. That's telling me that the market is not looking for anything out of the ordinary. But anyhow, okay, so we just moved into a new 5-minute bar, and I want to go through. Maybe we get lucky and we find something. I doubt it because of how slow it is. But really, what you should be looking at, and how all of these things need to be addressed. Okay, so the first thing that we're looking at here is we need a 1 in this column. What does the 1 mean? That means that the volume for this 5-minute bar is bigger than the 50 period moving average. So if there's no volume to anything, it's like it's not even happening. So here, for deer, for example, the volume is higher than the 50 period moving average. Okay, so obviously anything that is over here with a 1 next to it is worth the next move, next look. Okay, next thing you're looking at is our 2 momentum indicators, the polarized fractal efficiency and the DMI stochastic extreme. What those are not really all that important, but I did have some stuff out on the campus if you want to, nerd it up and look and see exactly what they do. But what is important to understand is that they are momentum indicators. That's all. So when they're pointed up or they are pinned up here, that's bullish. When it's downward sloping or pinned down here, that's bearish. So what does this tell us? We have 1 bullish momentum and 1 bearish momentum, which means we have no trade. Okay, next thing that we're looking for. Because if neither of these 2 things are in agreement, I don't care what's going on up here. Okay, so what's going on up here? Let's go through the different pieces. First, purple line here. That is the VWAP, volume weighted average price. So that is pretty self-explanatory. It's the price at which the most volume has traded. And then we have this thin yellow line. That's a -2 standard deviation move away from this VWAP, and this salmon melon looking line is 2 standard deviations above. Think about it. It's similar in concept to the Donchian channel. It kind of defines the roadmap. So you can see that when you get up to this 2 standard deviation, you start to lose some momentum. Okay, the yellow is the hull. That is something that in the case of a bullish signal, you want to be positively sloped, and in the case of a bearish signal, you want to be negatively sloped. And now we look at this thin purple line and this blue dotted line. What you're looking for is you want a crossover between that. Now, anything above the VWAP, we are only looking for buys. Anything below the VWAP, we are looking for sales. So there are no buys down here and there are no sells up here. We're moving with the trend. We're trying to identify a trend and move with it. So let's go through some of these. All right, NXPI. Volume, this is going down, but this can go down as much as it toggles between -100 and +100. Right now, it's barely below 0. And this is a 0 to 100. You're looking for it to be less than 10 and more than 90. So although this is showing weakness, and we just got below the VWAP, and we had the crossover, these momentum indicators aren't there yet. Take 2, bearish, bearish. Now, this is definitely bearish, but the thing is, okay, what's my reward to risk here? Remember, I can't expect a huge extension below the -2 SD line. Now, can it go below that? Of course it can. But in order to statistically think about that, how much am I really hoping to get out of it? And then the next thing you want to talk about is where's my natural place for my stop? Well, we can see today that it has followed the hull down here. So a logical place would put your stop up here, slightly above. You want to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. But I'm looking at here, and what we talking about? We got about well, almost 40 cents here of downside, and we're sitting right here on the hull, which is good. But now if you go to NXPI and you want to look at these options, they're 15 cents wide. It's too wide. Because you got to think that, at best we get out mid-market, or get in and get out mid-market, you're giving up a big chunk of what you're able to try and take out of it. All right, we just went through a 5-minute bar, so obviously these are going to reset. So you gotta take a look at this. Okay, McDonald's, got the volume, bullish, bearish. What does that tell you? Nothing. Tells you not doing that. And we had talked about this before, that analysis just doesn't give you entries. This analysis also says, you know what, that you might want to stay away from this. So it tells you what trades that you want to you want to avoid. Why? Because we don't want to just flip quarters. That would mean, well, if you get above here, I'll buy it. If I get below here, I'll sell it. You need more than that. SPLK just came up here. Okay, so here's an example of everything. This is pretty low. Be careful when this starts to shift back up. This is low. We have a lot of volume, but we're well extended past the 2SD. Could it keep going? It absolutely could. Do I want any part of it? It's just too far extended for me. Semiconductors. Okay, we just got a reversal here. That's what these green arrows are. So bearish. This is kind of bearish, but it's also showing that it has the possibility of a reversal. Everything else about it looks pretty darn bearish, and looks like a decent reward to risk. But this is giving you a heads up, saying, hey, the negative momentum that we are seeing elsewhere is not there anymore, or it's there to a lesser extent. Let's put it that way. Okay. It's not surprising that we're not getting a ton of volume. Like I said, we're waiting. We have about an hour and a half to wait for the Fed. CRM just popped up here. Again, bearish. This is starting to trend up, and you can see, yeah, we got below that 2SD, but what do? We get sucked right back in there. So there's a lot of false positives that jump out there. EA's had a rough day today. We're seeing the same sort of thing, though. At least short-term bottoms being put in. Some position squaring here. Triple Q. So this is telling you, I don't know what it's telling you, and this is telling you that we are just hovering around the VWAP, waiting for some news. Okay, so I don't want to belabor the point, but I did want to address this. Any questions, of course, throw it in there. And I will get this video rendered out to you ASAP.